Hopefully that's enough. And we are back once again. This is the ATP podcast Around the Post with your boy Jay and Mark Figueroa. How you doing, man?
Good. Missed last week, so there's a lot to catch up. Last week's news and a lot of news with Indian Wells, so it's a very good episode.
Man, I got a really bad bug. Like, I got sick. I got really sick. So this time it was my fault for sure. Or maybe it was some guy's fault at the gym or something. I don't know. Someone got me sick. I don't know who. But we're back. We got a lot to catch up on. And I don't even know where we should start. But obviously, we're at our home slam. We're at Indian Wells, which is down the road. What are we talking about?
We're going to start with last week's news, which was huge. Simona Halep got her ban taken away. She was banned for the doping incident, but now it's gone. She is able to return in Miami, where she accepted a wild card. So that's good. And first of all, before I continue, what are your thoughts on the return of Simona Halep?
I want to ask you some questions about the ban being removed. So, did the ban end? Did the suspension end, or was she relieved from it?
It was lifted, relieved. It was supposed to be until October of 2026, and now she's able to return to the WTA tour immediately.
Do we know the exact reasoning behind why it ended early?
She wasn't found guilty for the stuff that happened, and the judge actually ordered the WTA to pay her for her attorney fees.
Nice.
Yes. So that's what happened there.
It's unfortunate that she's still going to miss out on all the tournament winnings or tournament loss winnings that she probably could have pocketed and made in this time. And I don't know the details of her endorsement deals, but yes, she could have been severely impacted there too.
Yes, exactly. So it came out to 22,000 Swiss francs. That's what she's getting for her attorney's fees.
That's definitely not enough for everything else.
Yes, but what do you think about her return? Do you expect a lot? She's playing in Miami. That's her first tournament back.
Very happy for her that she doesn't have her reputation tarnished, but it's unfortunate that she missed some great quality years of her career. I think that she's definitely further from her peak than closer to it at this point. And so, she's at a loss here. There's not much she can do about it, but just, at least she didn't put that extra mileage on her body in the time that she didn't play. So I'm happy to see her here. I think she got a little shortchanged here. I think we said last time we talked about Simona Halep, it's one of those things where we can't say too much because we don't know too much.
Right.
But what I can tell you, I do know, is a lot of these athletes are on things. I don't want to say PEDs or anything like that, but they're on things, to help them stay recovered, stay physically fit for a full season, which is essentially 10 or 11 months. And it just is unfortunate that she slipped up or made a mistake or someone made a mistake and these things went the way they went. So happy for her. Congratulations.
Yes, she actually depends a lot on her movement. She doesn't really have big strokes. Not that she doesn't really overpower people, but she depends more on her footwork and movement, and that's how she beat Serena at Wimbledon. So as long as she's in shape and can someone hit the ball, she'll be okay, for sure.
Yeah.
Moving on, we're going to talk about Coco Gauff. Now she's on the April edition of Vogue. She's in gold. And in that, she talks about moving out, buying her home, and how she's doesn't know what to do because she's never been away from home. And now she's thinking about purchasing her own home. What are your thoughts on that?
That's pretty crazy to imagine, This is a player who was on the pro tour making enough money to buy a home a couple years ago.
Right.
And when is the right time for a young adult who's been with their parents, with a team, with adults the entire time? There wasn't like a transition into dorms, renting an apartment with friends. It's been you with adults on the tour, on planes, on buses, on vans, charter buses, whatever it may be. Now you just leap into home ownership. It's a big jump, and I don't know when the right time would be for someone like Coco Gauff. So I think that there's no time like the present. You know, it's just kind of funny to me because she's going to be on the tour for 8 or 9 months out the year. So
Yes.
will she actually ever be alone per se? I don't really think so. I think it'll be short stints of time. So I think she'll be okay.
Yeah, she's talking more about her boyfriend, bringing that up more. So that's good. She's 20, but again, it's when you're at the top of your game, when you're at the peak. I don't see any distraction there with having a boyfriend. That's my thought there.
Yeah.
But now she won 50 WTA matches in PNB Open. She won her 50th WTA Masters 1000 win. And she's the highest one as a teenager to do so.
That's impressive.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's impressive. That's 50 wins in Masters 1000s at 20 years old?
Yes, I believe so.
She's
Yes,
20?
Yes.
I don't remember her age, but that's impressive. You know, me and you have talked about Coco Gauff for quite some time now, and one thing we've always agreed on is she is a consistent player. Did she have the crazy breakthrough and win a slam at 18? No, but has she been a consistent, high-level, high-quality player from the beginning? Yeah, you know, I think she's been on a very slow but upward trajectory, and that's why it's very exciting for me because I don't see her being one of those players with a steep fall off. So, yeah, this is all good.
Yes, so that's good for her, and hopefully she has success for sure. Now moving on to Muguruza, with the Paris Olympics coming up, she's been pressured by the Spanish Association if she's going to return. She says, "I have no desire to return. I'm good." What are your thoughts?
I don't blame her. I don't blame her one bit. I think that Spain needs to reach outward to other players, you know, and find someone else. I don't think that Muguruza needs to step into anything. If she's done, she's done.
Yes,
You know?
yes, that's true. And this moves on perfectly to our next segment, which is Venus. Now, Venus got a wild card into Indian Wells. Mm-hmm. She lost to a person, Zhang Shui.
That's a tough match, by the way.
Zhang Shui, by the way, had lost her last 18 singles matches.
Oh.
And finally broke that against Venus. And by the way, that is the longest WTA tour level losing streak in the Open era.
Wow.
So now the people are all, man, wasted wild card on Venus. She needs to retire. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think this conversation should be about Venus. I think this conversation should be about Zhang having the longest losing streak in WTA Open era history.
Yeah, 18 matches in a row.
Yeah, 18 matches in a row. So let me ask you this. Should we be concerned with how well Venus Williams is doing if she didn't even have the active longest losing streak?
Honestly, she played well. She just got tired.
Yeah.
She won the first set, and she just got tired out. So
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with it. She's still playing at top peak level when she's in good condition.
Yeah.
So as long as that happens, she's fine.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that?
No. For me with Venus, it's you fill up seats. You've earned your right to be wherever you want to be at. If you're winning sets, come on. Like, that says enough to me.
Yes.
You want to say, then you lost the match to a player who, I mean, they have to win eventually, right?
Yes, exactly.
You've already broken the record for most consecutive losses. So yeah, I don't think this is a sign of anything for me with Venus. I think that this is fine.
Yes, I agree 100%. So now we're going to move on to a lot of upsets in the top 10 at Indian Wells. Mm-hmm. You had Pagula, who lost. She's in the top 10.
Yeah.
Zhang, the Australian Open finalist.
Yeah.
Jabeur. Ostapenko lost to Kerber.
Okay.
So back in the day, that would be a respectable loss. But right now, it's,
it's a little surprising.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and Rybakina withdrew. We'll get to Nadal in a little bit, but there has been a lot of withdrawal. So Rybakina, Milos plays one match and then withdrew.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on the top 10 WTA? There's a lot of losses there.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think any of the people you listed are major players in the realm of upsets. Obviously, Rybakina that's a relevant name to a major upset, but it's a retirement or withdrawal. So, yeah, I don't think it's that crazy. I think that it's just, one of those. They're not in the maybe they're not in the headspace of thinking they can win the tournament, or Indian Wells is the one. I know we call it the fifth slam, but it is not consistent with its winners.
Yes,
it's really not. So I always expect a big name to go out early because that's just how it's always been at Indian Wells.
Are you shocked that there were so many upsets within the top 10 in the women's tour?
No. As long as it wasn't a Sabalenka, an Iga, a Coco Gauff, like that big four, none of them got beat in an upset, I'm not mad or upset.
Yes, and Sabalenka lost today to Navarro, and Navarro had a nice little matchup against Vitalina. So that was a pretty big news. I believe Navarro's going to play Iga now.
Ooh.
So that's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. And now going on, Wozniacki, who also received the wild card. She's made quarterfinal.
Wow.
For the first time since 2017.
I like it.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's great news. And it's cool to see, unlike the ending of the Venus story, maybe this goes to show that these players do deserve wild cards for the people who, for some reason, I don't understand, think that these players don't get entitlement to wild card positioning in tournaments. So, yeah, I'm happy for her.
Oh, and I apologize. I believe it's going to be Iga versus Wozniacki in the quarterfinals.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
gotcha.
not Navarro.
Little less interesting, but still interesting.
But still a big run.
Yeah, still a big match.
And Andy Roddick has been making a lot of appearances. Well, I'm going to bring him up real quick. Before Indian Wells, he was seen teaching Pegula serving motions. He's been seen with Coco Gauff as well. What do you think of Andy Roddick helping the WTA players how to serve?
I will like it when I start seeing Milos level transitions or Marin Cilic change. Goran did the same thing for the men, and we saw a major impact in the way they serve through tournaments. And if Andy Roddick can bring that to the WTA, I think it changes everything. I think he will alter the trajectory of a lot of these players' careers that are super rock solid everywhere, but their serve.
Yes.
They almost are favored to break more than they are to hold. So that will be very interesting to see because the players he's speaking and talking to are players that kind of have a complete game at this point.
Right.
So having a more perfected serve, it could be very pivotal.
Yes.
It could change the way the Coco Gauff Iga matches go.
Yes.
So.
And Coco Gauff has had serving problems for a while, but she's still serving up there.
Yeah, she's a decent
and
server.
Now Pegula, hopefully it helps her a little bit. And now Maria Sakkari got a new coach. She also got a new sort of mentor, quote unquote, which is Pegula's former coach, David Witt, who was coaching Venus.
Wow.
So he's sort of taking the Darren Cahill role with Jannik Sinner. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's going to help Sakkari, who, by the way, is in the quarterfinals?
So far, it sounds like it. That's all I can say. Here's the thing with Sakkari, I think there's no place to go but up. She's already hit. I don't want to call it rock bottom because it's definitely not rock bottom, but she's already experienced what the low is. So I think that she's gonna have a refreshed mindset. I think she's healthy. I think that the game is there. Hopefully, this is gonna be the shift she's looking for.
Yes, I agree. And now the biggest news from last week was Love Will Prevail, which is Katie Bolter and De Minaur won titles. De Minaur won in Acapulco and Bolter won in San Diego. And the story was that after De Minaur won, he rushed to the airport, made it to San Diego super early just to make it to Katie Bolter winning the San Diego Open. And then she embarrassed him and said, "Oh, he loves me so much. He rushed and all this stuff." What are your thoughts on that? The new power couple in tennis.
It's beautiful. Congrats to him, and I think that this works more than CC Dosa or whatever it's called.
Oh yes, I agree.
Yeah, I think this dynamics got a little bit more momentum rolling with it. And yeah, Deminor looks great. He's playing great, and I'm excited for him.
Yes, I agree. And since we just talked about Deminor, he won Acapulco. And this is an interesting one. He had lost to Stefano Tsitsipas 10 times in a row. And he beat him in Acapulco and used the legendary line, "Nobody beats me 11 times." Are you shocked that Deminor had a 10-match losing streak against Stefanos?
A little bit. I know that he's more of a scrappy player, and Tsitsipas is more of a shot maker. But I usually expect scrappier players to come out on top at least a couple times. So, if I were to guess, I would think that this was maybe a mental thing for him.
Oh, yes, I agree 100%. And now he has the momentum of being a top tenner, a lot of big victories this year. So he has a lot of confidence for sure. And now we're going to talk about Humbert real quick. This guy's on fire. He won a tournament last week as well. He is 6-0 in finals, which is impressive. And he is the only player besides Sinner to win 2 tournaments this year. Humbert won Marseille and Dubai. And obviously, Sinner has Australian Open and Rotterdam. What are your thoughts on Hugo Humbert?
I'm impressed because I can't lie and pretend that I watch his matches closely. Excuse me. I can't pretend I watch his matches closely or that I'm a big Humbert analyst or anything, but I just don't expect this from him. I just really don't. So I love that he's on fire. Congrats to him.
Yes, and he has a very good victory, a very good record, my apologies, against the top 10. He beat Hurkacz, which he has a pretty good record against, and he has 4 victories since 2023 against the top 10. So he's actually a player.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Shout out to him for showing up in the big moments.
Yes, agree. So obviously the big drama last week was Rublev getting thrown out of the game.
Yeah.
He argued over a line call, and then supposedly one of the judges spied on him and said he was talking in Russian and cussed the line judge out. And then he denied it. He said, "No, I didn't." As a matter of fact, Bublik was, "What the heck's going on right here?" And then he said, "Let's just play." But after speculation and seeing everything, he was thrown out. At that moment, he was taking all his points for the week plus money that he had earned. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but what I will say is I watched the clip, I saw it, and he got in the face aggressively of a lines person. That's just not okay. You can't do that. And so, yeah, you're supposed to get fined. You got to face the repercussions of your actions. It is okay to be passionate. I don't even think it was whether he cussed or not. It's literally how physically he put himself in the face of an innocent bystander like that. So, yeah, I think he got what he had coming to him. And this is coming from a real Rublev fan.
Yes.
I'm a big fan, so.
Now, he went up against the board and actually got his money and the points. So he did get that. But the very next day, there was a call with Holger Rune, and everybody's saying, "Why is there lines people? We have machines for this."
Yeah.
And there was a very similar situation. Obviously, Holger didn't yell at the person, but it was a point to where it could have cost him the set.
Yeah.
Do you think that they should be rid of lines judges?
I like line judges, but I'll be honest with you. My only concern is I do think that using machines is superior and a better system. You just worry that anything designed by man can be altered by man, you know? And so there will always be the conspiracy theory of, are these line judges or line machine calls, these Hawkeye cameras, is this 100% reliable and honest, or are people going to get cheated? That's the real question. So I'm mixed on it. I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, there was a funny moment with at Indian Wells with Alcaraz and Arnaldi. He had hit a lob, and it was way out. But the camera caught it on, and even Alcaraz was laughing about it. He was like, that was in, but it happened to be the point prior.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so Ostapenko, who always complains about the line calls with the machine, she looks smart right now. And it took about a minute to fix it, and it finally ended up giving the right call. So what are your thoughts on those lags?
Yeah, that's that sounds like it's human error, but nonetheless, it shows to me that there is a way to make the truth not what it is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So before moving on, we're going to talk about Rublev. This was his fourth consecutive Dubai semifinal in a row before getting thrown out. He is consistent at making quarterfinals or better.
Yeah.
You want to talk about him real quick?
I'm listening. Talk to me. What's on your mind?
Oh, he's just a consistent player. When it comes to these 250, 500 events, he's really solid.
Yeah.
He's always making deep runs, and that's why he's in the ranking he's at.
Yeah, I think Rublev has a game that a casual top 50 player is just can't hang with. I think that he has an extremely big quality game that separates itself from most of the tour. I really do feel that way.
And then with that note, Bublik has reached 3 semifinals in 2024.
That's crazy.
Bublik is definitely coming up. He's still sort of clowning around a little bit, but he's becoming a little more serious.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
I'm a Bublik lover. I love Bublik. I'm a fan of Bublik. I think that he's had, honestly, a great 6 months. I think Bublik has done a great job of putting on a great show, serving well, beating good players. He's been a dream stopper for a couple of up-and-comers here and there. And I think that we should expect some noise from him in the grass court season.
Oh, yes, I agree, for sure. He has that big serve, big forehand. He definitely is going to make some noise. So now we're going to talk about Martoglu, who actually said he was a little disappointed about the appeal on Simona Halep. I think he should have kept his mouth shut a little bit. He has a Holger Rune again, who he went back to. What are your thoughts on that comment?
He sounds like a hater. Martoglu, why would you express or outwardly broadcast disappointment for someone's win? That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I don't like it.
Yes, he was the one giving this PEDs or whatever they were. So he should probably just keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
But he did make an interesting comment in that same interview. He was asked, who would be your dream player to coach? He said, Nick Kyrgios. He said, I would be very good for him if he wanted me. What are your thoughts? Do you think Patrick Martoglu could be good for Nick Kyrgios?
Honestly, no. I don't think so. I'd be interested to watch it. I do think that Martoglu is a great coach. I do think that he could contribute to pretty much any professional player on the tour. But I don't know if his intentions with saying that is I want more clout and ratings and attention on me, or I actually just want to work with Nick Kyrgios as an athlete. I'm not sure which one it is with him because he seems to enjoy being front-facing,
yes,
and being in the spotlight and the attention. And why wouldn't you want to coach Nick Kyrgios if he fills up seats like he's one of the big three?
Right.
So I don't know if I like it or believe it.
We will talk about more about Nick Kyrgios in our final topic. But going on with Nick Kyrgios to a point, Ben Shelton, when he lost to Casper Ruud in Acapulco, he was said to be, he's just an American Nick Kyrgios. What, do you agree with that?
Nick Kyrgios said, who's just an American?
Sorry, the fans said that after losing when Shelton lost to Ruud in Acapulco, the fans on social media said Ben Shelton is the American Nick Kyrgios. That's it. Do you agree with that?
No, he's not even close. I don't really see where the comparison comes from.
Probably the big serve. And that's pretty much it.
There's a big serve. Maybe there's a little bit of that athlete basketball, football culture trash talk because he comes from the Florida University sector. But outside of that, no. Nick Kyrgios actually has a more complete game. Nick Kyrgios, to me, has a few more layers in his tennis than Ben Shelton. And I think that they also swing the racket differently. They're different players with different dynamics and sequences. And I don't really see a lot of extreme tactics in the Shelton game. So I don't really know where the comparison comes from.
I agree there 100%. I was at Indian Wells when Ben Shelton played Sinner, and Ben Shelton's backhand is actually not the thing holding him back. Mm-hmm. What he needs is better footwork, recovery. Mm-hmm. When he's pulled off the court a little bit, he lacks that recovery to get back to the center. Mm-hmm. And his shot selection is just not there. Mm-hmm. He needs better shot selection when the points matter.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't have it right now. Mm-hmm. And his forehand, it's huge. But what I want to say real quick is that the fans were all oohing and awing about Shelton serving 138, and Sinner consistently was serving 130, and everybody just kept quiet. Mm-hmm. Sinner has made a big improvement on that serve. What are your thoughts on that?
Sinner is becoming more complete, more dangerous, and I think that the tour is starting to acclimate itself to the Ben Shelton serve. So I think that there's not really a lot to ooh and ah about. Ben Shelton's serve is a sight to behold, by the way.
It's big.
It is huge. It's tall. It's big. It's spinny. It's heavy. It still lands back in the court.
Yes.
He doesn't get enough free points with it, in my opinion. And I think that Sinner is just sneaky and accurate and adding MPHs over and over and over again, year after year. So I think that he's probably the more special server.
Yes. Now, Casper Ruud a little bit, our favorite player. He's 6-1 against Holger Rune. They played in Acapulco. They beat him. Casper Ruud beat him. Mm-hmm. And now he's a quarterfinalist at Indian Wells. He's slowly coming back. There's a resurgence there. What do you think is making the change? He was outside the top 10.
And you're talking about
Casper
Ruud, who was in the top 10 for a good stint of time and just fell out of it because he had a bad run Q4 of last year and some of Q3. But yeah, Casper Ruud to me is a top 20 player. Look, I'm not a fan, but he reminds me a lot of Ferrer in regards to what his consistency level is with tournaments and draws and results, and maybe even a little bit of his play style. But I don't think he's quite as good as Ferrer. And I don't know. I'm not big on this one.
I see.
I'm just not.
No, that makes sense. Now moving on to Zverev, who is actually making some noise as well. The big rematch is coming up with Alcaraz. They're going to play at the Indian Wells quarterfinals. But before that, he becomes only the 9th player to reach $40 million in career prize money. Any thoughts on that?
That is crazy. That's very impressive. But this is the guy who has been playing pretty consistent high-level tennis and making it to finals, titles, quarterfinals. He's won a lot of trophies. World Tour Finals champion, U.S. Open finalist. It just makes sense. He's done a lot.
And the big stat for him is he has 50 wins versus top 10 players. That's very impressive, especially after he was struggling. He had the Sabalenka going on where he couldn't buy a second serve.
Yeah, that was a rough era for him.
Very rough. And now everything is becoming more complete. And the fact that he's come back from his leg injury from Roland Garros faster than expected, he's very impressed. I'm very impressed by Alexander Zverev. What are your thoughts?
I'm impressed too. This is actually not surprising. I think I've always said that it's all mental. He has a massive serve. He has massive ground strokes. He's a naturally pretty good mover. He plays somewhat strategic. I don't want to say he's hyper tactical, but he's not just clubbing the ball around.
Right.
He is trying to build sequences, put the ball in certain places and things like that. To me, in that lost generation where Dominic Thiem's the only one that came out and he did not come out unscathed. Like it was like, at what cost did he get that Grand Slam? Essentially, I think that Zverev's the next one.
Do you think that Zverev is going to beat Alcaraz, or does Alcaraz get revenge?
I'm going to bet on Zverev.
I actually don't mind that. He's going to have to serve bigger. That kick serve isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to come up with a game plan. We're talking about Alcaraz, obviously, in order to beat Zverev. But if he plays the way he's been playing, it's Zverev all day.
Yeah. I do think it'll be close. I do think either player could win. But I'm thinking about the conditions of Indian Wells, the styles matchup, and I think that the grittier, slower hard court is going to serve to... It's going to serve to the guy who is the bigger skeletal frame, if that makes sense. I think that it's going to help Zverev be able to cover more and play his game with the big ground strokes.
Yes, Alcaraz is definitely making some improvements right now. If he continues to, he'll beat Zverev, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But that's if he sticks with the plan.
Yeah.
And we'll see if he can. So now a quick shout out to Gael Monfils, who did lose to Casper Ruud today. Mm-hmm. He is one of the oldest players to beat a top tenner since 1990. So here's the list. Stanimal was 37 years and 350 days when he beat a top tenner. Federer, 37 years, 232 days. And now Gael Monfils beat Hurkacz, by the way. And he's 37 years, 162 days. And he did make a nice little run before losing to Ruud today. What are your thoughts on Gael?
Gael Monfils, to me, is he's one of the quiet pillars of the sport of tennis right now. He's not super famous. People who don't watch tennis consistently don't know who he is. But he's on your Instagram Reels, your TikToks. He's on Sports Center. He's the charismatic, fan-loving guy. He's married to another pro tennis player. This guy is tennis in its essence, at its rawest form, which is just hitting the ball beautifully. He is one of the people who's really perpetuating that greatness and what can be done with a ball and a racket at the highest level, in my opinion.
Right.
I think he's fun to watch without being compared to the Bubliks and Kyrgioses and the Benoit pairs. He's in a different category while still being that kind of guy. And I think that for a long time, he was the only one on the tour that was really doing it and doing it well. So major shout out to Gael Monfils. I think that he's very important to the game of tennis. And I think that if there was ever a guy who didn't really accomplish anything crazy that got put in the Hall of Fame, this would be one of my choices.
So you wouldn't be upset that he would be a Hall of Famer without a slam?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's fair. Speaking of Gael Monfils, obviously the Olympics are going to be in France. And he said, do you think you'll be lighting the torch as Naomi Osaka did? And he said, I'm not that famous. I wouldn't be lighting the torch. Do you agree? Would you want him to light the torch? The cauldron?
You're kind of co-signing what I just said, which is he's not the household name. He's not the guy. When you say the word tennis, his name's not what comes up. With that being said, the Olympics is all sports.
Right.
So I wouldn't expect to see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, big shout out to Yuri Lehechka. He's had a heck of a tournament. He did beat Rublev, and he beat Stefanos Tsitsipas. So he's made a deep run. Do you know a lot about his game?
No, not a whole lot. I know that he's got some weapons in his game, but I'd love to hear. Like, what do you think about this?
I think that he's putting his game together. He definitely had a game plan against Rublev. With Stefanos, I did not see that match. But Stefanos he's slowly making a little bit of a run right now. So that's actually not a very bad match that he won.
Okay.
Do you want anything to add to that or no?
No. I will be revisiting this topic of conversation if he beats Sinner.
Okay, that's fair.
That's his next match.
Okay. And now the big news of the tournament. Again, this is all the rest of the news is going to get pushed back because of this. Luka Nardi. I was there at the match. He upset Novak Djokovic. Before we get to the match, let's talk about what people are saying on social media.
What are they saying?
They're saying age has finally caught up to him. He's not doing so well.
One loss in.
He should play more tournaments.
Okay.
Not be so picky about playing some tournaments. What are your thoughts on those comments? Do you agree with any of them?
This is so premature and insane for a guy who's dominated the sport for consecutive years for people to go, what? You've lost in, what has he played? 3 events this year? 2?
2.
He's played 2 events this year. This is what you should say. This is what you should take away from this, right? There's one thing I think fans could fairly say in this scenario. Djokovic made such a light schedule because he bet on himself to win his events that he did put himself in. And maybe you can have the take that maybe he's arrogant. That's a reasonable take. Do I agree with it? No. I think that he's doing load management and he's going, I have no reason to chase points. I need to chase accolades. And with that being said, Indian Wells is of significance to him. And that's because the Sunshine Double.
Right.
Then the Australian Open. What else did he need to be at? You know, he played in December and January off of these tournaments. He did play he played Sinner in December and January before Australian Open. He had a busy schedule, and I don't know. I think the fans are uneducated and ignorant. I think that he's still going to have a crazy year.
He was supposed to play Dubai, but he pulled out of that. Mm-hmm. But what do you think about people saying he needs to play more tournaments?
No, that's a terrible idea. Playing more tournaments would just make it so that he's not peaking at the right moments in the tournaments that do matter. He does not need to play more tournaments. I'm sure that he's managing his time extremely well. He's hitting enough balls. He's practicing enough. And he's still a human being who's going to have an off day, have a lower level performance. This is probably a topic for a whole nother podcast and episode, but there's a spectrum of your best day and your worst day, right? Djokovic is famous for having a very small window where his very best day on the court and his worst day are not that far apart. You caught him on an off day. We just know him as still being really good even on an off day. But he wins with off days all the time.
Yes.
So for me, this is just a rare occurrence where he lost on an off day. It's not rare that he had an off day. It's just rare he lost on it. So I think that Djokovic is going to be fine. I hope that he isn't letting media or fans or spectators hot takes make him uncomfortable. And next time he has an off day, I bet you he wins.
Yes. He's the man that made over 100 errors and still won a match.
That's what I'm saying. He's that guy.
Yes.
He wins on bad days. So, oh no, he lost on an off day. And he played against a guy he was at the top of his spectrum. That guy played out of his mind. So, yeah, it happens. It is what it is.
Yes, Roger had a light load and he made semi after semi. Mm-hmm. Serena, light load. Yeah. Final after final.
Yeah.
So they know what they're doing. They hit. They don't just stand there.
Yeah, they're not sitting on the couch when they're not in a tournament.
Yes. And now what are your thoughts about people saying age has caught up to him? Age is undefeated.
Yeah, this is nothing to do with age. Unless he woke up yesterday or he woke up the day before the tournament like, oh, my back, it's that time. I think he's fine.
He's the 37-year-old moving as if he was 20.
Yeah, he really is. Literally.
He's retrieving ball after ball. Mm-hmm. So I don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't buy that either.
Yes. Now, in the tournament post-match interview, he said, this is not a good start. I'm not accustomed to this. We'll see what happens. People have been speculating where he might go next. Mm-hmm. People are speculating he may make a Miami return.
That's a great speculation. I agree with that.
And he did leave Indian Wells early. Mm-hmm. Should he go to Miami?
Yeah. I think that he plays a light schedule for load management, right? And when we say load management, what does that mean? It means how many hours are you putting on a tennis court where you're giving 100%? and that is load management. If you exit a tournament early, that's at least 1 full week of load management, or I should say load on your body being removed. You can allot that now to another tournament. So I do think that this is a great opportunity to go to Miami, maybe collect some of those points you don't have, protect your number one spot or your ranking, and also an opportunity to collect the Masters 1000.
Yes, especially with him not being able to play in the United States for a while.
Yeah.
He could definitely gain ground.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's a good idea. Now let's talk about Nardi, Luca Nardi. That's the guy who beat him.
Luca Nardi.
Yes, lucky loser. He didn't even win the qualifier.
I was going to say, talk about what a lucky loser is for people who don't know.
Okay, so a lucky loser is you make it to the final, don't win, but there's always somebody who comes out last minute, as we stated earlier, Milos Raonic.
Yeah.
So this person gets to come in now. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on the lucky loser beating Novak Djokovic? Oh, by the way, he is the lowest ranked player to beat Djokovic at a Masters 1000 ever. He was above 125 in the world, and he did it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is a crazy moment, and honestly, there's not a lot I can say or take from it outside of he had an incredible day, and Djokovic had a little bit of an off day, and congratulations to him. And I hope this builds a self-belief that you can't build yourself. I hope that he gains that from this, and maybe he has a good year moving forward.
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
You can't construct this kind of confidence from scratch. You have to go out there and build it with your game against your opponents, and this is a big one.
Yes, I agree. And now when that happened, now all these pictures of Alcaraz and Nardi came out. You see Nardi giving Alcaraz piggyback rides and all that stuff. So it was good. Mm-hmm. But now let's go on to the match. Again, I was there. You're talking about ball placement, patterns. This is the first time I've seen that. Again, with that Shelton Sinner match, none of that. Mm-hmm. Nardi had a game plan. He was able to change direction, which made him win the match. Mm-hmm. He pretty much hit at Djokovic with top, and that top was bothering Djokovic. Mm-hmm. He was struggling to change direction, which is what Djokovic does. That's why he wins.
Yeah.
So this was a very good match. Nardi has a bright future if he can maintain that momentum. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Not a whole lot, but I think we're starting to see that heavy topspin to the body, which the first person I saw execute this successfully was Alcaraz. It's a valid strategic move against him. And we've talked about in the earliest episodes of this podcast that trying to stretch and move Djokovic left and right is never a good strategy any point in his career. And that going at him and requiring his movement to get shackled is actually a more effective strategy. So it's pretty cool to see different players do it different ways.
Now, just to keep this hate, quote unquote, going, you do have the young guns beating Djokovic. Mm-hmm. You have Alcaraz, Sinner, Nardi. They're below 22 years old. Is the young generation just has the goods? Do they just has the goods?
No.
Okay.
I think that the younger generation just doesn't fear him the same.
That's fair.
I think that's what it actually is. I don't think they have that jaded energy of, oh, this guy again or the juggernaut again. I think they have it's my chance. Like, I'm going to go out there, and they've been watching him with the intent on one day thinking they have to beat him. That's why they're on the tour, because they think they're going to do it. So I think that that's the real reason.
Also, this is the first time I've seen Djokovic's 78-mile-an-hour second serve get punished. He was actually serving bigger. He was serving 95-mile-an-hour second serves. And he was constantly serving 120, 125 first serve. So he felt the pressure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So good stuff for Nardi, and hopefully he keeps it going.
Yeah, I agree.
So now Sinner, 18-match winning streak. Rare that happens. Obviously, Nadal had a big one. Djokovic. I can't think of anybody else that had started the year that well.
Yeah.
And he said in one of his press conferences, they asked him, "Are you unbeatable?" And his reply was, "I'm not unbeatable. I'm just well prepared." What are your thoughts on Jannik Sinner's reaction to that question?
It's so cold and calculated. It's beautiful. I like what Jannik Sinner is doing. I like his energy. He's got a certain level of humbleness, but also a certain level of awareness, which is, look, I'm not walking on the court thinking I'm unstoppable or invincible. I'm walking on the court making sure I understand what's going to make you have a chink in your armor and how I can get to you first. And that's intellectual. That's how you win tennis. That's how you play chess. I think that Jannik Sinner, that's the leg over Alcaraz that he has.
Right.
And that's what separates him. It's not talent. It's that. So I look forward to seeing what he does in this tournament specifically and how far he's able to take it.
Yes. Now, my friend, sad news for you and I. Breakpoint canceled. Third season over. Box to Box has 2 other series on Netflix. One of them is on the golf, and one is on Formula One car racing.
Yeah.
And they couldn't match the numbers that those 2 other series did.
Yeah.
So they canceled it. And they said maybe there's a chance if from here on those numbers go up. But other than that, they're not reconsidering. Bye, Breakpoint. Yes. And you have people saying, well, the reason why is because they couldn't get a lot of the top level players.
Yeah.
And then the top level players said, it's just too much. They're following me too much around. Casper Ruud said, it's just too fake. It's not real. Sabalenka was all, well, I didn't mind showing the backstage stuff. Iga, as a matter of fact, said that she was painted in a poor light and that her and her team didn't receive good compliments and were given a little hate because of the documentary. What are your thoughts on Breakpoint cancellation?
It's disappointing. I would love to have seen the tennis universe embrace a production company trying to collaborate and being more open to communication with Breakpoint or any entity or production company trying to perpetuate tennis into the spotlight even further. Because at the end of the day, if we would have had Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, Andy Murray, these type of players collaborate with box-to-box productions who make Breakpoint and be vocal because they have enough leverage and power to do that, we would have had an opportunity to see the biggest names in tennis leading the way. They would have been able to make sure that they had control over their portrayal because, at the end of the day, I get it. Do I think Breakpoint was purposely painting people as villains and stuff? I honestly don't. But do I think that Breakpoint caught glimpses of the temperament of players in the good times and the bad times? For sure. And nobody wants a magnifying glass on the bad times or a spotlight. So, yeah, it is what it is. But I would like to see the pro men and women's tours be more communicative and transparent and work with the production team.
Now, go ahead. Are you done?
No, I was just going to say, I do think that tennis needs something like this.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be Breakpoint, but tennis does need something like this to be done.
Yes, I agree. Now, I mentioned Nick Kyrgios. Well, here he comes. Now the fans are showing hate because he was the one who was saying, I'm going to bring people to tennis through Breakpoint. He failed. And now people are all over him saying, well, I thought you were going to bring the casual fan. What do you think about that?
I mean, he's not even on the tour. He wasn't even on the tour all last year. So I don't really understand that part either. When he was on the show, it got renewed for another season.
Right.
So I don't know if that really makes sense. And I think that if Nick Kyrgios was on tour last year, maybe Breakpoint does have a better season, with better plot lines and storylines. We won't know. And it is what it is. But what I can say is he should retort and say, when I'm on the show, it gets renewed. When I'm off the show, it gets canceled.
There you go.
What are your thoughts?
Yes. He has. As a matter of fact, he's already brought people that normally wouldn't be watching tennis to begin with.
Yeah.
So he is definitely a entertainer, and he has that aura to him that will bring the casual fan. And not to bring Ben Shelton again and comparing him to Nick Kyrgios, but he could have that same aura that will bring your casual fan as well. And now the last topic is Stevie Johnson. He retired at Indian Wells. He played doubles, but didn't play singles.
He played the quali.
Yes, he played the quali.
So
he didn't
tried.
do that. He tried. Yes. He didn't make it, but he retired at Indian Wells. What are your thoughts about his career?
Stevie Johnson had a great collegiate career.
Yes, he was probably the best ever.
Yeah. And, you know, I do sometimes wonder if that great collegiate career took away from his solo pro career or not. I don't know, because he made crazy noise as a collegiate tennis player.
Right.
But, you know, with that being said, I'm one of those nerds who knows about that. And so I have a lot of respect for Stevie Johnson, and I think he's a great athlete and a great player. And it's unfortunate he didn't have that, like, banging moment on the ATP tour that we could define him from. But, you know, I think that this was a beautiful place to retire at. And who knows, maybe he will pop up and play some doubles here and there at some American tournaments on the Pro Tour. But, you know, congratulations to him. And I hope that he's successful with all his other endeavors and, you know, things go well for him.
Now, he reached a high of 21 in the world. And the thing to me that made him not as successful as what he would have is he did have a solid two-hander. And then he started playing around with the one-handed backhand slice. And then he just never drove the ball with a one-hander. And it just became a slice.
Yeah.
And everybody got used to it. Again, went on social media and said, well, he really didn't do much. What do you say to those fans that say Stevie Johnson didn't do much as a professional tennis player?
Yeah, they're casuals, you know. They are casuals. You know, the men on the Pro Tour respect Stevie Johnson. They do. American tennis respects Stevie Johnson. And at the end of the day, I don't understand why you would say he didn't accomplish much if he's living a good life.
Yes.
He's not complaining. I assure you that. And, you know, I think that you have to be realistic about your game and decide how many hours and how much time you want to put onto the Pro Tour versus whatever he has going on in his personal life. And he made a call. You know, he made the call. So, I don't know. I back it. I support it. And if I were in his shoes, I'd be pretty happy.
Yes.
I'd be pretty satisfied. So, shout out to Stevie Johnson.
For a person that won $8 million as a professional, who made it as a career high at 21 in the world.
And he probably had the time of his life playing collegiate tennis.
Right.
So, yeah, come on, man.
I don't see how he had a bad professional tennis experience.
You know how many American college athletes would trade shoes with him tomorrow, right now. They traded all for it. So, Stevie, you're a lucky man. You had a great career. Congratulations. I'd trade with you right now. You know? so yeah, great job, man. And not having a Grand Slam doesn't make you less of a pro athlete. It really doesn't. So
I don't want to sound like a boss, but good luck in your future endeavors.
That indeed.
Again, we have the podcast right around the time that we wanted it. There's a lot of drama next week. I'm going to save it, and it's good. Okay. So, unless you have something to add.
I got nothing this week.
In that case, I hope you guys were entertained.